Hi, hello everyone. How we all doing? Hope we've had a good week. Yes, thank you all for those who liked, subscribed, shared. I see you all. You're the realest MVPs. Today I want to be talking about a question I've been asked for the number of years that I've been in both the business world and being employed as well. Been asked, which is better? Do I resign? I want to resign. I'm tired of my job. What do you think? And so I'm going to title this episode the self-employed versus employed dance off. I have a checklist of how you know if you're supposed to be self-employed, right? So I'm going to be sharing that checklist with us much later in the course of this video. But I want to start off with a story. You all know I like to tell stories. So I remember that in 2017 when I resigned, a particular acquaintance of mine just said how he didn't know that I had resigned. So he just said, and this was a much older, almost grandfatherly type person, and he said how I resigned, that my business is not going to exist in the next 5 years. Why did I resign into a business that in the next 5 years my business is not going to exist? And this girl gave it back to him. I told him, you know what, in 5 years time I won't even be 35, and if at 35 I know that I at least tried, it's better than staying stuck in that place where nobody appreciated me. So I gave him the whole rundown, and I was feeling like, yes, nobody should talk to you anyhow, girl, do you? Yes, I am coming before the world to say that was absolute foolishness. So, because at that point, my response was based off on this mentality, which is what this video is going to address. This mentality that somehow those who are employed are a little less. And that is such a lie, Every job and every position has its place. So because you're self-employed, it doesn't mean that you are better than those who are employed. Everyone, whether you're employed or not, whether you're self-employed or employed, it's all about the value that you bring. However, I have a checklist, and I'm going to be sharing that checklist with you right away. Okay, so going right into it. Checklist. How do you know if you were called from the time you were in the womb to be self-employed? Checklist is, ta-da! There is no checklist. There's no how to. There is no this and this are pointers to tell you that you're an entrepreneur. I mean, I know that a lot of books will tell you about passion and drive, but I don't think that those things that are listed as signs or signals are also not applicable to those who are employed, right? So I would say that instead of asking yourself, how do I know? Ask yourself, what type of value am I adding? Am I a person of value? What kind of value am I looking to add to the world or looking to bring to my company? First of all, I'm going to tell you what being self-employed is not. And I know that we hear this all the time. I'm just going to make it as practical as possible. Being self-employed is not chilling. It's not having the time of your life and not answering to anyone. You must answer to someone, whether you're employed or self-employed. So with structured employment, you're answerable to your boss, your manager, your team lead, or whoever. With self-employment, you're answerable to your business, and in more practical terms, you're answerable to hunger. Being self-employed doesn't mean that you have all the time in the world. I will tell you for a fact that one of the things that I know that I have lost in the last couple of years is sleep. Not because I am thinking, but then there was a season in my life that I was sewing throughout the night. So now it's pretty difficult for me to fall asleep before 3 or 4:30 a.m. And by 10, I'm up. at the very latest, I'm up. So there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into both employment and self-employment. I'm just going to say this again, that just because your boss is I'm not going to use that word, just because your boss is mean, just because your organization doesn't have structure, or where you're currently working doesn't have structure, doesn't mean that it is a sign for you to start your own just yet, right? And just because maybe where you're working you're not paid commensurately, what you're earning is not commensurate with what you should, or the amount of effort you put into the job, it doesn't now mean that it is time to quit and start your own gig. That's so reactionary. And there's a limit to how far something that you start off being reactionary will last. I always use this reactionary word because I find that a lot of us, especially young people, is that your boss is mean, oh, there's no structure, so I'm starting my own. Not that I'm moving to another organization where there's structure, so I can even learn what I need to put into my business. No, is that I want to start my own. Guys, it is not a who is better competition. So just because one person is self-employed and another person is employed, it doesn't mean that the one who is self-employed is better in any way, in all honesty. I think I am in a position to be able to say both because I am both employed and self-employed, and I know for a fact that they balance each other out. Yes, it's a struggle to do both for me or for anyone, and I know that a point will come where one will supersede the other, but I am not now going to tell you that being self-employed, you are the kingpin, you are the baddest in that joint, or it's the easiest thing, right? So if your motive or your intention to becoming an entrepreneur is because you want to relax, be able to call the shots, run your own thing, you don't want to be answerable to anyone, you're already setting yourself up for failure, in all honesty. Okay, so also just putting a little bit of balance into what I said. In as much as there's no checklist, it doesn't mean that your ideas are not valid, right? So it doesn't mean that if you want to start up something, you shouldn't. What it means is you have to look for a way to start your idea and just sort of scale it down and know that what you're offering is value, and not particularly because you want to prove a point that you can start a business and be successful at it regardless of whether an employer gave you a chance or not. At the end of the day, it depends on your ability to tell yourself the truth, your ability to look at your idea and even scale it down, and probably start building that idea even while employed, because there is a whole shift that happens when you become fully self-employed. You have a lot more to do with money, a lot to do with your bills, to take care of yourself. So the practical thing to do is to be able to look for a way to balance both. I'm not saying that this applies to all ideas or to all circumstances. I know that there are grants, there are loans, but my point is, or the point of this video is that your switch into self-employment shouldn't be based only on the fact that you have a not so great job, because all you need is probably to move to another job. And there are certain things that you will learn in your employment that will definitely translate into how you run your business, So be very sure of your why, guys. Be very sure of your why. And if there is nothing else you learned or you took away from everything I have said in this video, this one thing is what you should take away. Being self-employed or being employed, so being self-employed is not better or greater than being employed. I know that we have that. I hear that a lot. I hear the sound bites of that. Whatever you want to do, whether you're employed or self-employed, if you do not have value for yourself, you will not have value for yourself. If you're not brilliant on your job, you won't be brilliant at your business. if you are not consistent with your job, you will be consistent with your business. If you do not learn how to obey, your superiors probably, or the team leads, or the managers, or the heads of your organization, you will not know how to obey your business, because in your business, the manager is the business itself. It is what calls the shots. If you're not able to adapt in your place of employment, it is most likely that you will not be able to adapt in the ever swift changing route of the business. So rather than dwelling on a checklist or a how-to on whether or not you are called to be self-employed, or rather than thinking that your state of employment is a curse or you can do better, I think that if you must have a checklist, if you really should have a checklist, on that checklist you should have things like, okay, what is my idea? How can I scale it down? Who does my idea serve? What kind of value am I bringing with this idea? How much do I need to be able to bring this idea to limelight? How do I plan to sponsor being able to bring this idea to limelight as well? Structure your time too, because not being disciplined is a bad trait, whether you're self-employed or employed. In fact, it's even worse in self-employment. So in your employed state, how can you make effective use of 24 hours, so much so that your idea is birthed and begins to grow? Those are some of the questions, or those are some of the things that I would say you should put on your checklist. So if I could do this over, rather than have a limbo year, I would have had like a structure in place. If I were absolutely going to have a checklist, I would have known how to be able to balance my time, how to be able to, start lean and grow it from there, how to be able to invest part of my earnings into my business, how to be able to learn money, because that also played a major role in my business not really being able to pick up as it should have from the beginning. I would have invested all of that even while being employed, rather than think that employment is some boat cruise where everyone is just sipping champagne and living their best lives. So just equip yourself, get more information. Don't just base off your desire to be self-employed on a feeling alone, right? On circumstances alone. It has to be a bit deeper than that, and then give yourself time and space. So a lot of young people, we just like to jump into it. On the myth of entrepreneurship, you're the boss of yourself. I hear that a lot. You're the boss of yourself. That's so not true. That's the biggest lie. You are not the boss of yourself. Your business, your brand, your whatever it is that you're given to is the boss of you. And then also find balance, because sometimes the reason why we think that we need to resign from our jobs to start this thing is mostly because for some people we have not learned the discipline of time. So you have 24 hours. If you close up at this time, and you really, if it is even something that you're really driven to do, you will make the time for it. Make the time for it and start, and then just see where it goes. So that's it for today from us, from my lovely co-host Chiquita, who is off to the beach. Obviously, lockdown has got nothing on her. From Chiquita and I, and to all of you all, we say thank you for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe to this channel. Leave your comments, leave your reviews. I hope they're not nasty ones, but I'll take them either way. Leave your comments, leave your reviews, subscribe, share, and I'll be seeing you all. Yes, I'll be seeing you all live. Ooh, gonna try the live one next week. So, bye. Toodles!